WestCat meeting of October 10th. It is 6:30. Shall we have a roll call and call to order, please?
Cameron Sasai. Hanson.
Here?
Dion Bailey.
Here.
Heidi Swillinger.
Here.
Chris Kelly.
Here.
All right, shall we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, shall we go to approval of the agenda?
So I move to approve the agenda.
And I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. B carries. All right. C, do we have any public communications?
No.
All right. Consent calendar. We have the consent calendar. Anybody like to pull anything or make a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
All right, motion and second on the consent calendar. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone like to abstain? All right, thank you. All right, 2.0, items for board discussion and presentation on final FY24 monthly passenger and auxiliary revenue recommendation reports and fourth quarter post-audit income statements and sensitive state system-wide 10Qs. I gotta put my glasses on. Rob.
So I'm actually going to ask Yvonne, the Chief Finance Officer, to make this presentation.
Good evening. This item I've asked to introduce is mainly because we are introducing our fourth quarter 10Qs, the end of the quarter, FY24, and it's post-audit, meaning that after our fiscal year independent audit concluded, we did the last financial statement of the year showing all of the various expense and revenue categories, and we did end up with a small surplus this year that you'll see on the last page of the income statement. Most of you are used to seeing this statement on a quarterly basis. And then actually the first item, which I skipped over, was the monthly passenger auxiliary revenue reconciliation reports, which is basically our revenue reports. And you're used to seeing those in our monthly management reports. But we pulled them back in January and stopped including those in the monthly management reports because we don't receive Clipper revenue, actual Clipper revenue, for 2 or 3 months after we actually reconcile our monthly management report. So we decided, rather than giving the board an estimate, which is what we were using, we're waiting until we actually are able to reconcile the Clipper revenues final to present the reports to you. So I made the decision to actually give you all 12 for the fiscal year of 24 because we did make some adjustments to the original estimates that you saw through January, and then you have the rest of the year. The thing with the Clipper revenue is the majority of our revenue it goes through a clearinghouse because we're considered part of an East Bay operator group when they reconcile the Clipper revenues through the system. So it does take some time for us to get those actual figures into the system. So it actually occurred after the close of the year. And so that's why you're seeing that now. Hopefully, I know, according to our finance manager, that we actually are seeing the Clipper more quickly than we did in the past. Around maybe 2 months. It was actually going out to about 5, in some cases 4 to 5 months, that we were so far behind, which is difficult for us in claiming some of our funding because we actually use those reports for expenses to claim like RM2 and RM3. So that's why we were using the estimates. So So you're going to see those separate going forward from the monthly management reports. And unless you have any questions about the post-audit, go ahead, Chris.
If that's okay, what does 10Q mean? Does that 10 quarters, or is that
No,
a
it's a
special acronym that I don't recognize?
I actually had to look that up. It's a financial statement reference. It has to do with just quarterly statements. It does not mean 10 quarters.
Okay, it's a special term.
And it's a form that actually we've been using for probably the last 35 years at MTC. We initially got the format from MTC to present to you. So you'll see them, we'll call them 10Qs, but they're actually the 4 quarters that we present to you annually. So, and this is the 4th quarter from 24.
Okay, so going forward then, how many months after these months end will we be seeing this? Is it like 6 months or something?
Well, the 10Qs you should see, it depends on how quickly we're able to close that quarter. But I would say 2 months after.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Generally, unless there's a cancellation of a meeting. That also happens too. That's why there's so much in this particular packet, is because at the end of the year we had one cancellation of a meeting, and then that pushes all of these other items together in one big agenda item. But typically it's about a month or 2 after the quarter closes that you'll see the 10Q for that
Okay,
quarter.
great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you for the explanation.
Sure, you're welcome. Anyone?
All right, thank you
Okay.
very much.
Maybe I'll just
please.
add one other piece of information. I think in regards to Clipper and the delays that we see. As Yvonne mentioned, right now we are part of a East Bay group, so all of our Clipper data has to go through not just the Clipper clearinghouse, but then goes through another process where a separate entity that we kind of pay an invoice for goes through and separates all the data out by individual agency across the 4 agencies. When Clipper 2 starts, hopefully in April, we will actually be our own entity within the system. We will also, at that point, get Clipper information by route, because the other problem we have with Clipper data right now is all we know is that somebody paid for Clipper on board one of our vehicles. That's the level of detail we get. There's no route information. So Clipper 2 will be our own agency. We'll actually get information, which will be very helpful because it will also allow us to query the Clipper database and look at transfers between agencies. And, it'll give us a lot more access to a lot more information that we really have not had for the last 9 years that we've been on Clipper. So it's, the Clipper 2, hopefully in April, we'll see a lot of new advantages to not just the rider experience, but also for the operator like us, where we can use the data a little bit more successfully.
So Clipper's going to start providing some good. Oh,
There's one thing that I failed to mention that is actually in the staff report, but I speak to the fact that even though you're not seeing the revenue sheets on a monthly or quarterly, you are seeing the income statement more frequently than you'll see on the revenue summary.
thank you.
You're welcome.
So that brings us to yes, please, Jim. Yeah.
I'm sorry to ask this late, but it appears,
okay.
if I'm reading this right, that we still get most of our revenue through cash.
Yes, well,
At the fare box, that is.
at the fare box, yes. But actually, what did you say, Clipper is probably a large majority of our, so if you, as an example, I don't know, do you have the full packet in front of you?
I do. I think I do. Yes.
So if you look at, I'll just use one of the revenue sheets as an example. So if you look at the June revenue reconciliation report,
Okay.
and if you see to the far right in the columns where it has the different modes, where it's dial-a-ride, Transbay Links, and fixed route at the top, and at the bottom it has the billings issued. And if you see at the very near to the bottom is Clipper, and in the column for Transbay Links, we collected $46,984 in Clipper links for the month of June. And then $24,286 for fixed route in the month of June. The actual fare box is at the very top, which is a pretty small amount monthly. If you can see the different categories at the very top, that's the cash fares coming in. So $12,000 in the fixed route, $3,700 in links, and dial-a-ride is $878. That's the cash that's coming into the fare box. We do pre-sales where we sell to different agencies or the school district. The county purchases tickets from us, and that's the prepaid sales deposits. And billings, we also bill for various promotions and things like that. So, you know, the cash, we don't do a lot of sales in-house anymore. That's actually since the pandemic, most people are purchasing online through our Shopify. And so we have a Shopify online account. So people can actually go on through our website and purchase their passes and tickets through the Shopify, and then we mail them to them. They don't ever have to come to our office. So we have a lot of that kind of revenue coming through. People can pay with a credit card, right? Yeah, with their credit card and things like that. And Clipper is very popular. So that's another way that we get the fares coming in like that.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Sure. Anything else on 2.1? No? Shall we do 2.2 then? That'll be the presentation and discussion of WCCTA's audited financial statements of the year ending June 30th, 2024. Take it since you're still staying there.
That's me again. And happily, we had, I'm happy to report that we had a clean audit again this year. So we had no findings. We concluded fairly early, considering the last couple of years before, with our new staff and our new auditor. It took a considerable amount longer while we were cleaning up and getting used to each other. And this year was tough, but it was good. And I want to thank our finance manager for really preparing for this and doing a really fine job of it. And Christina, our new accounting tech, got a taste of the audit when she first started. We were right beginning the audit. So, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have if you've had a chance to look at the audit, or
Any questions?
otherwise
anybody?
that's all I have.
Anything you want to add, Rob? All right.
No.
They're so easy.
There you go. Good.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, that brings us to 2.3, consideration and adoption of resolution 2024-5 and the associated documents related to Regional Measure 3, Project 31, Interstate 80 Transit Improvements. Mr. General Manager.
Thank you. So there is a staff report in your packet, and I kind of combine the staff report with 2.3 and 2.4, so I'll be discussing both items together. It's just there's two resolutions that are kind of under separate items. So the Regional Measure 3 capital programme that was approved by the voters a number of years ago went through some legal challenges and was finally kind of got through all of that process around 18 months ago at this point. So the MTC were then able to start allocating capital funding that had been part of the programme that was approved by the voters. There were two programmes that WestCat were able to apply for funds, and the way it worked was, in both cases, the funds were allocated to Contra Costa Transit Authority, and they worked with the individual operators to kind of come up with a formula to divide those funds, equitably amongst the agencies. So Project 26 is for North Bay transit access improvements. Overall, it was $100 million allocation of funding across the various counties in the what's considered the North Bay. Contra Costa received $20 million, and the way the allocation was deemed to be split was between ourselves, County Connection, and Tri-Delta. And I think, in working with, similar to the collaboration we've done amongst the three agencies in the past, we kind of came to a collective agreement that we would split the funds in thirds. It seemed the easiest way to do that. So for Project 26, we're allocated $6,666,066. I'm not sure which agency is going to claim the extra dollar, but one of them is going to get an extra dollar. So we're going through that process, and then as part of the I-80 Transit Improvements Project, which is Project 31, there was $25 million that was split between ourselves and AC Transit. And we came to an agreement a number of years ago about these fundings that WestCat would receive $10 million and AC Transit would receive $15 million, which seemed, for the needs for the project, seemed the correct kind of fit. We have determined that the $5 million from Project 31 would be best utilised for local match for our bus purchases that are ongoing and coming up. It seems that local funds are hard to come by for these kind of projects. We get some federal money to make these purchases. So using this funding seems a good choice. It seems to be a thing that a number of operators are going to do with these funds. And then originally we had another further $5 million that the original plan was to enhance the maintenance facility, expand the parcel of land that we bought a number of years ago into parking. I think that's less of a need now, although there's still a need for us to develop that land at some point. So my vision for this money would be potentially whatever developments we do on that parcel down the road would be some, potential hydrogen fueling station, whatever we chose to do. This would be a good seed money again as local match for money that came up. So that additional $5 million, I don't anticipate us spending within the next, 5-10 years. It's kind of just we can tell MTC that we're not likely to be looking to an allocation from that pot for a number of years. But the two projects that we do want to move forward for now is Project 26, which is the North Bay Transit Access Funds. You'll recall we recently got the FDA award for the Lono grant for $20.6 million for our start of our hydrogen retrofit project. This seems a perfect local match for that project. We were looking at needing to find around $4.5 million in local match. So this RM3 funds is a perfect opportunity to enable us to move ahead with that project immediately. The way this process is working is the resolution before you tonight and all of the documentation is the first stage for us submitting all of that documentation to MTC, and as part of the process, we're asking for an initial allocation of $645,000 in RM3 funds for Project 26. That will provide us the local match to begin the retrofit of the maintenance facility. MTC have made it clear they only want to allocate these funds when they're needed. So that, these funds need to be not spent within 6 months, but we need to start spending that money within 6 months. So we've worked out a timeline with MTC and with Contra Costa Transit Authority to kind of make sure we're asking for the money in the right increments at the right time. So that's the initial request for Project 26. As an aside, we're also going through the process of actually writing the FTA grant associated with the Lono application, which is a process that we have to get through. There's various steps we need to go through with MTC to get it in the right documentation. So we're looking to have both grants written and kind of approved and starting to move forward that project in like the January, February timeframe of next year. So Project 31, which we are proposing to use for bus purchases, the local match. A couple of months ago, the board did approve the purchase of 3 MCI vehicles, 3 over-the-road coaches that we had some federal money for. And at the time, I kind of indicated my intent was that we would hopefully have these RM3 funds, so we would not need to use our reserves. So this $1.75 million is the local match to kind of make sure we can pay for those vehicles when they hopefully arrive on site April or May of next year. So happy to answer any questions. And I know I split the two resolutions across the two different agenda items, but I think if we take them separately, I'll happily answer any questions.
Any questions?
Thanks, General Manager. I'm looking at the 3 buses to be procured through the Project 31 funds. Apologize if this question was answered in a prior meeting, but around the project completion date of early 2025, what does the availability look like for zero-emission buses?
So these vehicles will be diesel vehicles. Over-the-road coaches, there's no viable option right now to purchase that we could do. So these vehicles were programmed to be replaced. I believe we got the initial federal money in 2021 to replace these. So these are vehicles that we've been kind of sitting on, not replacing. So these are diesel vehicles that are going to be online. And as I say, we expect delivery of them in April or May of next year.
Got it. Thanks.
Any other question?
I just wanted to acknowledge staff for getting this going. I know it's been a little bit behind, but meaning we're behind where we order them, but receiving the funds is, I think, a good thing. RM3 had been held up for, I think, a while. So I'm glad to see us receive the funds and then have a plan to spend them. And I guess I can make a motion. If there's no other comments, I'll stand by.
Maybe could I just add one, just because it sort of relates to that, because I think that the process to get these funds has been ever-changing in that I was even given an edit for the 2 resolutions. It only involves the project title, so I'm not particularly worried, but it's like this has been a ever-going process with MTC to kind of work this out. It has gone through, it's already been approved by Contra Costa Transit's subcommittee, which is the Bus Transit Coordinating Council, which WestCat and all the transit agencies are a member of. Once approved tonight, it will go to the Contra Costa Transit Authority Board. It will then go to the MTC's Project Programming and Allocation Committee, and then through to the MTC Commission itself. So the initial approval at the committee level at CCTA was last month, and MTC's board are not going to consider this till December. So there's been a process to kind of get these documents in the right format that MTC would approve. So just wanted to kind of mention that part as well.
Please.
Thank you. And then we did have a board member ask about clean air vehicles. Can you talk, it's not quite this agenda item, but can you talk a little bit about, we do have a plan for that.
For sure, yes. So I think what the board and a few years ago, we adopted our zero emission rollout plan. And the goal was, or the plan was and still intends to be, that we would go with the hydrogen fleet, because that is what makes the most sense, certainly for our larger 35-foot, 40-foot over-the-road coaches, whatever, those kind of services. Hydrogen certainly makes the most sense. Right now, while there is a hydrogen available 35 and 40-foot vehicle, we have traditionally bought vehicles from the Gillig factory, the local factory. So we've been working pretty closely with Gillig and the other local operators over the last 6-7 months as Gillig consider when they're going to begin rolling out their hydrogen fleet. The current plan is, I was actually at a presentation 2 months ago where they went through all of the engineering process that they've gone through and the initial testing that they've done on these vehicles. So they plan to have the initial test vehicles on the road mid-2026, and then they know that they basically determined that when they roll out this hydrogen vehicle, they only want it to go to local Bay Area operators within the first number of rollouts, so vehicles are close at hand, so they can monitor, so they have that access. So ourselves, AC Transit, County Connection, and Labda are all kind of giving them our vehicle needs in the 27-28 timeframe. So that's the goal for that. The other thing to step back is, this is why we're also starting the retrofit of our maintenance facility, and we're also with the FTA Lono grant in preparation for that kind of time frame of 2026, 27. So that's the plan for the rollout for the hydrogen fleet. I think the question is also valid about electric vehicles. We also have a number of cutaway vehicles, smaller 27-foot vehicles that are replaced on a much more timely cycle, every between 5 and 7 years. So I think the next time we purchase them, there will be a decision made on would we go with hydrogen with those vehicles? Would we go with electric for those vehicles? So I think that's still a decision we would make. I think we could probably get the electrical infrastructure to manage that number of vehicles, but I think, you know, for hydrogen vehicles, I think, or for the larger vehicles, getting the electrical capacity at our location would be a significant challenge. So that's one of the other reasons we went for the hydrogen approach. But, you know, the plan is still 2027. Hopefully, we are first purchase of hydrogen vehicles, and that's when we would no longer be purchasing any more diesel vehicles.
Thank you very much. I'll just say I hope that we can maybe be one of those test agencies. I don't need you, I'm not going to make you respond, but I think it'll be great to have the test vehicle out here. Thank you very much, though. Thank you, Chair.
Would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I think we have two, so I guess what I'll say for the first one is, Kim, I make a motion that we adopt a resolution that is Resolution 2024-05.
And I'll second.
We have a motion and a second on 2024-5. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone like to abstain? All right, motion carries.
And I'll move Resolution 2024-06.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? All right, thank you. Geez, we're whittling it down. All right, 2.5, update on upcoming schedule change. Oh, Sim.
I'm going to let Finn, our transit planner, take this item.
Good evening, Board. Thank you so much. I'm here to present our schedule update agenda item. So the schedule changes that we are planning to implement around late November will align express bus service with the most recent BART schedule updates, maintaining the convenient transfers between BART and express buses that we designed around the previous BART schedule. That means that local bus routes schedules will also need to change, so as to maintain convenient transfers with the express routes, so that will also be happening. The updated local schedules will allocate additional time to layovers to reduce the potential for domino effects of earlier traffic delays on later runs in each driver's shift. Now, while the overall durations of most runs will not change, many runs will see changes in the timing of one or more scheduled stops relative to those runs' start times. And what that means basically is, let's say we had a 20-minute run, and then you have a stop like San Pablo and Oak Ridge is 10 minutes into the run on the schedule, but the bus usually gets there at 12 minutes in and then gets to the end of the run on time. What we would do is we would change the schedule so that San Pablo and Oak Ridge is marked as being 12 minutes into the run as opposed to 10. So yeah, these changes in timing take into account analysis of recent trends from our vehicle location data to improve both schedule accuracy and driver punctuality. And when I say recent, this is all from since our last schedule change in May of this year. All that said, changes to the hours, the headways, and the spans of service, and again, headways is the amount of time between two buses going the same direction for the same route, and the span of service is going to be the amount of time between the first and last run of a route. Those are going to be minimal, or any changes to those. And although no routes will be added, eliminated, or rerouted at this time, we are exploring the potential for future route changes as part of our ongoing comprehensive operational analysis, or COA, which we began last month in partnership with Ronnie Kraft Consulting. So I would like to pull up a few highlights from our current draft of the proposed schedule changes, which include allocating more time to certain links runs to account for traffic patterns on Interstate 80. We all know that Interstate 80 gets pretty backed up sometimes, so we just want to reduce the risk of that interfering with our riders' travel plans. And then also increasing the minimum layover, again, the amount of time between two consecutive runs on a route, where the bus, after the bus has finished one run and before it starts the next one at HTC or Hercules Transit Center. And that's, again, to prevent drivers from falling behind. So yeah, as far as the timeline goes, we are currently finalizing the schedule in partnership with MV Transportation, our contractor. But we will delay implementation until after the outreach component of the COA has been completed. And that means that the updated schedule is expected to begin service between mid-November and the beginning of December. That's all I have for you today. So any questions, comments, or concerns, please send them my way.
Question?
Please.
Finn, thank you very much. That's very succinct. You said here greater characterization of weekend service. What are you thinking about?
So that was on the initial agenda item that we put in the packet. So at the time, we thought that we were not going to be able to provide as much service as what we have in the current draft. So it was sort of prioritizing weekend more than weekday, but now we're prioritizing weekday as much as weekend. So
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
sure thing.
Any questions? No?
More statement, outstanding, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So that brings us to 3.0, committee reports, general manager report, 3.1.
Thank you. So I've got a couple of items tonight. So first of all, a couple of introductions. I'm sure most of you met, but we do have our new board member, Heidi Swillinger, who has joined us, appointed by John Supervisor Joya, so representing the Tara Hills, Bayview, Malthaven Manor kind of area, San Pablo. So welcome to Heidi. And then also wanted to introduce Rami Razuk, who is the new general manager for MV at the Pinole location. So he's
Welcome.
been here a month or so now. So we're working together, looking to make a couple of improvements, couple of changes together. So then my other updates, the bus wash. We had a conversation last month about the issues with the bus wash. I'm pleased to report that the bus wash is functional, operational as of 2 days ago. We are washing vehicles again, so that's good news. It's good to see some clean vehicles out there after it's been a little while since we've seen those out there. Clean Air Day, we did offer free rides on Wednesday, October 2nd across our entire system. And while these numbers are not 100% final, that is pretty close to the ridership numbers. So pleased to report that comparing our ridership from last Wednesday to the average of our ridership on Wednesdays over the last 2 months, we saw a 19% increase in ridership on that particular day. And I think the really most significant one was we saw a 50% increase on trips into San Francisco on our Link service. So it was really nice to see. Hopefully some of these people will keep riding over the next days, and we'll keep them on board the system. But, it was good just to get that validation that, if we do promote this, if we did get the information out there, to see a 19% increase is very pleasing. So 2 other pieces of information. So Finn mentioned the comprehensive operations analysis that we have started that work on. Our consultant we've had a number of meetings. She's looking at a lot of the data that we have. She's compiling reports right now. Her plan is to do some survey work on board our system in early November, mid-November, which is why we're kind of delaying when we do our schedule update, because her work, we want a consistency of what we're asking in terms of the service levels. But the plan is she will be at the next board meeting. She will be giving a kick-off presentation. We felt this board meeting was just a little bit too soon as to when she got on board, so we've moved it back to November. But she'll be outlining the outreach plan that she has, the kind of process that she's going to go through, the information that she's going to look for from the board. She has already attended a couple of outreach sessions or information sessions that were put on at the Salesforce Stranded Centre. So she worked with our staff, with Mika and Denisha, to kind of just be present and ask those questions. So I think she also has some plans to come to some events within the city. We're looking for some pop-up locations, perhaps at the libraries, things like that. So I think she'll talk more about that at the next meeting. But so far, really pleased with the work that we've put in, and she's going through a lot of the data that we've been collecting to kind of really get a real sense for what we currently provide, and then what potential options we have going forward. Then my final update is the last meeting we talked, during my general manager report, I talked about the potential for a regional ballot measure to help fund transit going forward. It's still an ongoing process. I think right now, in the next couple of days, the MTC Commission and the subcommittees that they put together are going to have a number of meetings to discuss potential new options to think about how they may get onto a ballot. There's currently 2 options that MTC have produced that talk about sales tax and various different numbers of counties across the 9 areas being involved. There's a framework that's being put together by Senator Wheeler's office, again, which is looking at a 7.8 cent sales tax that I think a number of people have some concerns about, that approach. There's a framework that's being put together by the operators, mainly led by BART, Muni and AC Transit, that is probably going to be presented this week or next week to the MTC Commission. I don't have a huge amount of details, but I do know that it's a parcel tax, which I'm just saying, the plan is for a parcel tax. And it would be, each county would have a different percentage, of what the parcel tax may look like. Right now, San Francisco is looking at taking the larger proportion of that, but they're one of the reasons why the people who are putting this together and the operator level like it, or like the approach, is they seem to so far have been able to get Santa Clara County and San Mateo County to kind of not say no to it, which they have been pretty opposed to the other regional measures that have come up or the proposals. So that's being worked on, and then BART are also working on their own individual, just on their own plan to potentially bring to the voters. We don't have any details of that. We just know that BART are, as well as working on this operator-led one, they're working on their own version of it as well. I will say that one of the things that the small operators have been working on, we actually met with Jim Spearing last week to talk about this, and we've met a lot with Sue Nowak to kind of give our kind of views, and I think we now have the understanding that the smaller operators would be included. It wouldn't all just be money for BART, for Muni. So we're kind of starting to understand what our carve-out would potentially be, and I think we're a little bit more supportive of where the measures are going. I think there's the whole, what it looks like in general. I mean, I'm just talking about the amount of funding that we may potentially get from the measures is much more palatable than the Senator Wiener's SB 1031 was. So I think ongoing process, staff are involved. There's lots of meetings, lots of conversations. If you have time to sit and listen to the dozens of MTC commissions and subcommittees, that they're always interesting conversations around this subject. So that's all I have, but happy to answer any questions on any of those items.
Please.
Thank you for the presentation about that and about the MTC meetings. I watched the last select committee meeting, and there was absolutely no agreement amongst everybody about how to proceed with a possible measure. Do you know when the next meeting will be?
I know there's ones this week.
So it'll probably be this coming week.
I think there's a couple tomorrow, and there's a couple on
Okay.
Tuesday of next week.
And Jim Sparing is he's leading that. He's chairing that, right?
Yes, and he's been going around and meeting with a lot of people. I think he's met with pretty much all of the county CMAs.
Yeah.
He's met with all of the operators, large and small. So he's got a lot of feedback and a lot of information.
Okay, and so if one or more of these proposals goes ahead, do you think that it'll be on the 2026 ballot?
I think if it's,
Or is anything possible?
I think anything's possible. But I think
Okay.
I think the important thing is, if it's not, there's serious issues for certainly for BART and Muni go at that point. So I think that's it's probably pretty critical that it is on the ballot in 2026 for BART and for Muni.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Please.
Yes, thank you for that report. Couple of items, I think, if you're able to participate in comments, is that Pinole has a half-cent sales tax measure on the ballot, and we had to have special legislation along with Sassoon City to extend the sales tax. So hopefully they're aware that some of the cities within the 9-county Bay Area are already at their limit. The other thing is, I think you mentioned, BAFA, the Bay Area Housing Finance Authority, pulled their ballot measure for this year and will likely go in 2 years. I'm just curious if you know if both of these have to go in on the November election, or if one can go during the primary and one, and you don't have, if you don't know.
Well,
that's
no,
fine.
I think that's those discussions are happening, and I think there's a lot of discussions with BAFA and of the timing of all of these. It's probably also one thing I didn't mention about the operator-led proposal, that would likely be a voter initiative, so it would actually it wouldn't require the 2/3 majority. So that's one of the other reasons why I think some people are favouring this, even though it's got the parcel tax element. So just a bit more information.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? No? All right, that brings us to the WCAT report. So they met on September 27th, and there was a couple items that were of interest came up. One of them was on how they were going to deal with the gas tax. One of the problems is that the fewer the gas-powered cars are going to be replaced by electric, there's going to be less money available to repair roads. So the state's trying to figure out how to deal with that, and there's been a couple pilot projects, and the state's working on a program on how to move forward, probably more on a user tax. Then there was an item on the I-80 Central Avenue interchange rework that Richmond's looking at redoing to try to make that intersection work better. And there was a report on the Rodeo to Crockett Bay Trail update. The way that one's going to work is on Cummings Skyway to Crockett, they're going to actually have a divided section from the road. They're going to go from 4 lanes, 2 on each way, to just 2 lanes, and then a bike and a ped path that will be divided with a protector. And on from Cummings Skyway to Rodeo, it'll be more paint than anything else. So that they've been working on that one for a while, and that probably won't go until 27, but it looks like a good way to fix the bicycle and car problem between Crockett and Cummings Skyway. And Chris, you were there. Is there anything else you can think of to?
No, I think that's, pretty accurate. The only thing that we all have to be aware of is that the gas tax money is going down and it's decreasing. So there is this woman who presented, Lauren Prihota of Caltrans, about a possible user charge. And I participated in a pilot about that several years ago, and other pilots going on now where they're actually really testing revenue options. So people should just stay tuned.
Yeah. A lot to work out on that one. So do we have any correspondence?
No, we do not.
That's a good thing. Is there any board communications? All right, everybody's good. That's a good thing. Shall we move to adjournment of future board meeting? Any items for the future board meeting? That's a good thing. All right.
No, I would just
Yeah,
want,
please.
I just want to note that November, I have a conflict with the mayor's conference, and December with Cal Cities.
Yeah, I think we'll work with, make sure we get a quorum, because I think the November meeting's probably pretty important. We have one, maybe not necessarily on the second Thursday, but I think we really want to get our consultants and our comprehensive operation analysis kind of presented before the board. So we'll work on a date for that, and if we need to change the date, we'll work around it.
Thank you.
So then we'll say that our next meeting is tentatively November 14th, but stay tuned. All right. Shall we move to adjournment then? All right. Thank you. See you sometime in November. adjourned.